Hello, folks. I am Tarah Wheeler Van Vlack, and this is Tarah Talks. This week is, let's see here. This week is how to fire your mentor gracefully. That can be a pretty big problem for a lot of folks, so I'm glad we have a chance to talk about it this week. All right. Again, I'm Tarah. I am the CEO of Fizzmint, an HR automation company here in Seattle. I am also one of the co-founders and a board member for Hack the People, the world's largest tech mentorship initiative. I take mentorship very, very, very seriously. And by the time we're done today, I want you to think of me as one of your mentors. I broadcast every Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. Pacific time. You can see all of the past and future talks at thetarah.com/Tarah Talks. I'll talk for about 15 minutes. You can see the little Q&A application in this Hangout, and you can use it to ask questions at any point from now on. Try to vote on the ones that you like the best as well. I also have questions that I'll be answering that people have sent me via Twitter and via email over the course of the last week or two. Okay, the fun part about doing broadcasts like this is that you're never actually sure if you're looking directly into the camera. All right, this week's tea is Earl Grey, unsurprisingly, because it's very, very weird in Seattle weatherland right now. It's sort of hot but cloudy at the same time. I think I disapprove. So it just seems like a Captain Picard kind of day. So, how to fire your mentor. Firing your mentor is something that happens because the relationship has either gone very, very well or very, very poorly. And when you are trying to maintain relationships, when you're trying to create a career for yourself that is both a valuable one and one where you can inspire and assist others, you know that mentorship is not just something you receive, but also something that you give. If you have gotten yourself into a situation or were put into a situation where someone is mentoring you without being very good at it, then how do you save the relationship and your career? It can often be pretty tough to figure out how. All right. The goal of every mentorship relationship is to end in a positive way. If you have a mentor, it is either someone you've chosen, someone who has appointed themselves, or someone who's been assigned to you through your company or some other project that you might be working on. The people that are assigned to us through company mentorship programs are often very problematic because that assignation of a mentor through your company is often a reflection of how other people see you and not necessarily how you see yourself. So what do you do if the mentor that you've been given in your relationships, in your career, is just terrible at it? They're not helping you. They don't teach you how to move into higher levels in your career. So how do you fix it when this person might be your boss or a higher up at the company at which you hope to succeed? Take heart, first of all. In tech, it's actually pretty unlikely that you'll be at the same company for very long. So regardless of anything else, your situation is going to change almost whether you wish it or no. The second thing to realize is there are some ways to save yourself. So I'm going to talk about 4 things today. First of all, I'm going to talk about the good and bad outcomes that can potentially happen when you acquire a mentor. How do you get out of the relationship? Start with the end in mind. Second, I'll talk about how do you fix or escape bad relationships. Third, I'll talk about how to create your own mentorship experience when it comes to forming a mentorship program. And fourth, I'm going to talk about how you handle the situation when you yourself might be the mentor who needs firing. This is about reciprocation in technology and in any other relationship that you might be part of. So if you are someone who isn't necessarily giving as much as you're receiving, don't use your junior status in technology as an excuse for that. Everybody has something that they can teach and everyone has something they can learn. And as my colleague and co-founder Liz likes to say, she's also the president of Hack the People, which is the largest tech mentorship initiative, as I've mentioned a few times. The only thing you have to know to mentor someone is one more thing than they know. So first of all, let us talk about what the outcomes of the mentorship relationship can be. You are either going to become the friend, the business partner or colleague or peer of this person. You could become their colleague, and finally you could have a negative outcome like not wishing to see them or have a discussion with them any longer, not wishing to continue a relationship. Those 4 possible outcomes to the mentorship relationship are the things you want to start with. You'll have people in your tech mentorship, in your tech career, who will end up being more friends, and some who you think will be better as business partners or colleagues. The top level of mentorship relationships in the startup world, at least, is someone who wants to invest in your company, someone who wants to serve on your advisory board, or someone who wants to create a long-term relationship with you. If you have done that, then you have proven that you are someone who is reliable and who is responsible and who treats the mentorship relationship with respect. So good on you. The other positive outcome that you could potentially have is a friend. Tech is kind of a weird world. You create your own colleagues here, and you create your own friends. One of the things that I'm going to be starting to do here on Tarah Talks is bring me some of my friends to have discussions with me here. Folks that can talk about how they choose to dress and act in tech interviews, how they've handled mentorship relationships, and what they've done when things have gone wrong, how they've founded companies. And a lot of that comes from the fact that people that I have taught and have learned from want to continue the relationship with me. Tech is a land of relationships building, and the mentorship relationship, as I have mentioned, is a fundamentally unequal one. So the idea is to transition from a place at which your relationship with your mentor is unequal to one where it is, either as a friend or as a business partner or colleague. So how do you get there? You start with the end in mind. And if you have one specific thing that you want to learn from someone, one thing that you want them to teach you, perhaps it's how to handle executive management in technology, how to hire and fire, how to handle yourself in a boardroom situation. You can learn those things from someone and then transition to a place where you can use those skills and they can be proud of you. That doesn't necessarily mean at that point that they're not equal to you. So if you ended up in those positions, you're great. It starts to get a little trickier when you have a peer or a colleague that is the outcome of that relationship. Because the relationships in a mentorship situation are fundamentally unequal, and a colleague is theoretically an equal person to you in a relationship, transitioning without that person's permission or say-so to an equal relationship can sour it sometimes. Often if you have a manager who has taken an interest in you, the work that they've done to help you learn how to manage people might have gotten you a promotion onto their same level. If they were actively advocating for this to happen, then awesome, you're golden. You've successfully transitioned into that location of equality in your relationship. If not, first you want to try to build the relationship on a personal level. Take this person out for drinks or coffee. Take them out for dinner and have a discussion where you create a break point in the relationship and you say, I loved learning from you. I'm going to keep learning from you. And I'm wondering how you can tell me how we can go forward as peers from this point on. With the level of respect that I've got for you is huge. And I would like to know how you want to define our relationship going forward. Often the only thing that's needed in this kind of situation is just an acknowledgement of how awkward that can sometimes be. And then you can laugh together and then it's all over. If it goes less well, then you separate away a little bit from the relationship because you've learned what you needed to, and the people that teach you should be thrilled that you're succeeding. If not, then maybe there's some issues there personally that you don't necessarily want to get tangled with. So those are the potential good and bad outcomes that can happen out of the mentorship relationship. The negative one often happens when you or they have created an awkward situation when it comes to that transition of the relationship or something that you or they have done to harm the other person. If that's the case, often it's best to let the relationship fade rather than having any kind of confrontation whatsoever. I'll talk next about how to fire the mentor that you might have been assigned and in which this relationship might have gotten a little twisty. So the next piece is, how do you actually get rid of someone who's been assigned to you as a mentor? There's a couple of possible solutions. First of all, there's good and bad use in every person that you meet in the workplace. And sometimes the only mentorship someone can provide for you is in a negative form. Sometimes the only lesson you can learn from someone is what not to do. And if that's the situation you find yourself in, take a little extra time to reflect on that on a daily basis so that you can see the positive in you having gotten to know them to begin with. If you are in a situation where you can't get away from the person, they've been assigned to you, and you are experiencing problems in your workplace, and yet it is not at a level at which you wish to take to HR or to someone even more senior, then the solution I have for you is to step sideways. Step sideways and ask yourself if you can form a new mentorship program at your company. Often, all it really takes is someone who wants to work on the mentorship program to have someone let you do it. First, I know that many of the people that I mentor are often a little bit fearful when it comes to taking the forefront in a new project. This is an excellent chance to prove some leadership skills. First, there's a lot of help out there for you. Go and check out hackthepeople.org, and that will give you an immediate location at which to start. You'll either start or become part of your local Hack the People mentorship group. And at that point, you'll have a plan that we and Hack the People can help lay out for you when it comes to introducing a new kind of mentorship into your workplace. At Fizzmint, every single person is mentored and is also mentoring someone else. We've created a leadership and a learning chain that proceeds throughout the entire company. The secret to that, the sly little secret to that, is if you're the one creating the mentorship program at your company, this often is not only an expression of your leadership abilities, it is also a demonstration of the fact that you can be trusted to pick your own mentor. You then yourself have the ability to control the situation that you're in. And there's not very many downsides to displaying leadership, controlling your situation in a better way, and being able to choose the people with whom you will learn and teach. So that would be the way to sidestep the issue. If you're the person who's formed that mentorship group, then you've got your own choices. If you don't, and you've gotten to the point where your mentorship relationship is bad enough that you need to go to HR or ask to have your mentor reassigned to someone, then the thing that I would ask you to do is this. Stop worrying so much about whether or not their feelings are going to be hurt if you ask for a new mentor, because you will. You're going to worry that their feelings are going to get hurt. Not that they will take professional action against you, but you personally are very likely to worry about the emotional impact of your actions on someone else. Guess what? That's not your responsibility. Your responsibility in the workplace is to do the best job you possibly can. And if you have a situation where you want to learn and you want to succeed, request additional mentors and let the current relationship slide away. If you've got multiple mentors, you are not going to have as many meetings with the one that you are currently assigned to. So use the situation for negative learning as well as positive learning, and just do your best to not be a mentor like that to someone else. All right, so now we've discussed the outcomes, how to fix the bad relationships, how to create a new mentorship program, and also how to create a situation where you can choose a new mentor and gradually let the old relationships slip away. The final thing I want to talk about is when you have a mentorship relationship, you also have the responsibility to teach. So how do you handle it when you think that you might be the one who needs firing? And that's good and that's bad. I have had relationships with mentees go wrong, and I've been the one that they let the relationship slip away on. I have been in situations that didn't work out with mentees, and I've been the one that elected not to continue the relationship just by letting it slide away. Confrontation in most of these situations is a poor idea, because under the surface of a professional relationship that has not transitioned into friendship, you need to be aware that you can have respect for the other person's abilities, know that interpersonally you don't wish to be that closely connected to them, and still find a way to say hi to them at cocktail parties and networking events. Still find a way to do them favors, to help them out, and step back for your own emotional health. So if you think that you're the person who might need to be out of the relationship for your own sanity or for their abilities to succeed, I'm actually going to advocate that you not confront the person. I'm going to advocate that you let the relationship slip. And everybody knows how to do this. It's the other side of it's not you, it's me. The truth is, it's not you or them. It's the combination of you both. And there's nothing personal about that at all. It's often very hard to find the combination of traits that you will respect and learn from in another person. There's a lot of social programming that goes into it. Some of the social programming includes things like how we perceive leadership and who we want to be like. There are people that I choose to emulate, almost in a kind of a weird, creepy sense, where where if I don't know what to do, I do what I think they would do, and most of the time it works out pretty well. So you can learn without necessarily receiving positive messages from a mentorship situation that you're in. You can save yourself. You can add additional mentors when you have a primary mentor relationship that isn't working out for you, and transition in that fashion. So now that this is one of those kind of fuzzy talks, it's a little odd, and you're watching me struggle for words a little bit, I think, on this one. A lot of it is it's very hard to tell personal stories about the kinds of great and poor mentors and mentees I've had without it being very personal. One of the I'll end on a personal good note and a personal bad note, and then open it up to questions. So when I have had a mentee who was a poor decision for me, who was not the person that should be learning from me, and I wasn't the person to teach them, a way that I figured that out was realizing that I was too emotionally close to the situation, that this person reminded me too much of me. And as a result, I was less than able to give impartial advice. So I let the relationship slip away by using one of the small degrees of privilege one has as a mentor, which is you're busier than that person. And as a result, you can use busyness as an excuse to not discuss the lack of ongoing meetings. And after a while, the relationship slips away. I've been in a relationship before where a very good mentor transitioned into a friend as well as a mentor. That's a little odd. And yet what it means is that you have relationships that exist on multiple levels with a single person. And that works great too. In fact, I have a friend who's transitioned into a mentor, a colleague, and a business partner, and that is also a little strange. So the way that I handle that, and the way I'd encourage you to handle that, is to be careful that you know in what voice you're speaking when you're talking to someone. Know the situation. If you have someone who is your mentor and boss, and you're in a professional circumstance where they're in charge, then it might not be the time to bring up the portions of your relationship that are friendly, as opposed to that are friendly and equal, as opposed to unequal and in a professional setting. I hope that that helps a little bit, and I've gotten some really complex questions this week from people who've asked me questions about how to get out of situations, how to handle awkwardnesses, and a couple of really, really good ones about significant others in relationships with their mentors. So I will get started on the question and answer period. Okay, I have a stack of questions over here. People seem to send me more via email and Twitter than anything else. If you'd like to ask questions, I know there's people in different locations that are watching this on YouTube, on Hangouts and such. So in the Hangout application itself, you can ask questions with the Q&A application here, and I'll see them here and can answer them right away. Okay, the first question that I had via email, pull this up, is, I've encountered this one a couple of times when people have asked me questions. The question here is, what do I do when I am being assigned a mentor who is based on my ethnicity or gender and not my career goals? This I have seen on a couple of occasions. I was asked a very similar question to this one at ShmooCon this year when Liz and I were doing a talk for Hack the People, when someone said, and it was a great question, I have a lot of women at my company, and I asked them to form a group so that I could discuss what their needs were with them as a group. And this gentleman, who was a higher up, or possibly the CEO in his company, had asked me, they don't seem to want to do that. How do I help them? How do I make them do, form up so that I can get an opinion from all of them? As you can tell, there's something a little problematic about asking a question. How do I make all the women at my company get in line and get a single voice between them and ask me questions and give me requests so that I can fix this stupid feminism problem? And the funny part was this came from a very genuine place. And the other side of that is this question right here. What do I do when I'm assigned a mentor who's based on my gender and ethnicity as opposed to my career goals? First of all, your boss is trying, which is more than most people are trying to do. The people who are running your company at least have recognized that there is an issue and they want to try to help. Since this is the case, this is not the time to throw a fit or get angry about the situation. Instead, it's time to have a discussion, not just among the group that is being ghettoized, because make no mistake, this is separating, othering the people who have your gender or ethnicity. Make no mistake, this is still not the greatest situation, and yet at least this company is acknowledging that you might need extra help making your voice known. And collective bargaining sometimes does work as a tool. So starting with that as your premise, starting with the premise that these folks actually want to help and they're just a little clueless in how to do it, you have a great place to begin. I have found myself in this situation actually pretty commonly where people are aware there's a problem. They know that someone might be a little bit more voiceless than others based on their gender or ethnicity, and they want to help, and they do so a little awkwardly. Bless their hearts. Keep awkwardly helping. You'll refine it over time if you're those people. The second thing to know is you need to make it clear that you have different voices and different goals. This is the place where you start the mentorship program yourself, where the person who comes to you, perhaps the CEO or the likely operations at your company, and says, can all of you ladies or all of you folks of this specific ethnicity come to me with all of your concerns at once? Put them on a list. This is the time to have a conversation with that person. Do not put this, most of the time I'm advocating putting things in writing. This is one of those times when, and this is, your mileage may vary on this one, but this is one of those times to keep the conversation as casual, as in person, as outside the office, and as over a coffee purchased somewhere as possible. The reason why is you're about to give this person a wake-up call. It's going to be very difficult to do this without sounding rude, and yet at the same time, they've got to hear it because otherwise you're going to be in trouble. You need to let this person know that the goals of every person in this sub-demographic at your company are very, very different. That the goals of a woman who is a receptionist and the goals of a woman who is a web developer and the goals of a woman who is the human resources manager are very different. And it would be a better way to make sure that their voices are heard in their career paths by creating mentorship groups throughout your company. If you're frightened by this, again, hit up Hack the People locally or ask your local organizer. They're more than happy to help in these discussions that we have all the time in our local groups. And provide an alternative. Because the big lesson to learn is don't come to the table with a complaint unless you have a solution. Your solution in this case is you want to form the mentorship groups and you want to help create the mentorship program that you think will create a better solution. It is a little meta because you are coming to them saying, you asked us for a solution to this problem of, you know, the ladies not having a voice at your company. Well, here's the answer. It's not the ladies. It's that we all have different career goals and we think that this is a good way to handle it. That'll help remove some of the ghettoization that you're experiencing. And just remember, as you're dealing with this situation, they want to help. Don't make them feel bad. Or if you do, make sure that you have made it clear that they're trying and that you know it and you appreciate it. There's 3 more questions that I wanted to get to, but I see a very important question that's come up here on our Q&A. I had a relationship go sour with my very first mentor. I still work with him, but he has such a terrible attitude. How can I fix this situation after months of letting the relationship go stale if the person hates his job and is super negative? All right, so this is the one we are looking at the moment. This is that specific case where I talked about adding more mentors to your relationship. It's possible that the person who's been assigned to you to mentor you is your direct report to this person, that you are their employee or their employee's employee. And the other possibility in tech is this might be someone who is more like a project manager, assigned to your group, but not necessarily of it or doing the work that's in it. You have to add more mentors. You have to add more human beings that you can go to for assistance because, first, honestly, this isn't your mentor. I don't care what title your office gives it. I don't care what title your company gives it. Someone who's not helping you is not your mentor. Someone to whom you don't wish to give, to help, and to build that relationship is not a mentor to you. So it's time to find people who are. Perhaps it's time to ask yourself what you want at that company and specifically find someone to approach and ask them if they would like to be a mentor in addition to the one you have. That is how you transition away from the current poorly titled mentor that you have now. The other option you have, of course, is always, if you need to do rehearsals on this because it's a little bit delicate, go chat with your Hack the People group or find someone else that you trust who can do rehearsals with you. Often a significant other or a good friend can help you go through a little bit of role play when it comes to this. It's also a good idea to stretch your wings. Ask a little higher than you think you can get. You might be very surprised at the kind of people that want to help you, especially if you know something about them and you say, you've succeeded in this area, I admire it, and I'd love to learn from you. If there's an official capacity to mentorship at your company, wait a little bit and make sure to go to the person that you are mentoring first, or the person who was originally mentoring you first, and say, I have developed a great working mentorship relationship with this person, and I know in terms of the company, I was going to ask this person to take over as my official mentor. Can I buy you a beer in thanks for all of the work you've done for me? Doesn't matter if they have or they haven't, because at the very least, you've learned a very important lesson from your original mentor, which is how not to be one. Don't be negative, don't be unhelpful, and as a result, your relationships will improve. All right, and you can always also still contact me. Sometimes the questions that are asked of me in situations like this are very general, even though there are more specific stories behind them, and I always like to help with this kind of thing. All right. The next question that I have for mentorship is, this was an interesting one. What do I do when my mentor becomes my significant other? This is the same question that is related to most people's questions of whether or not you date inside the workplace. The mentorship relationship can be very intense. It can be very mentally connected, and that can create a lot of situations interpersonally. If your workplace has a fraternization policy, abide by it. If it doesn't, still don't date the person. I don't care. I don't care who they are. You are not in an equal relationship, and it's very similar to, I would say, in a lot of situations, a college professor dating a freshman. If you are learning from this person, there might be reasons to date them, to continue with the relationship later, and yet I've never really seen a good outcome come from someone who started in a very unequal relationship, especially within the same company, who started dating someone who was in that position of inequality. First, there are power questions, and second of all, there are issues with legality and with your own career. There's nothing that's worth that. There's nothing that's worth sacrificing your future for, and someone who loves and cares for you, that person doesn't want to see you ruin your future anyway. And I think the final question that I want to get to today is the mentor that was assigned to me by my company has actively sabotaged my career by keeping me from getting a promotion. How do I clean up this mess? That is a rough one. Again, I'm going to, in a lot of the same ways that, I'm going to do a slight little 1-minute tangent here. In a lot of the same ways that we discuss broken relationships with people and say, this person isn't your significant other, they are someone who abuses you, or this person isn't behaving in an emotionally positive way. I think we need to get out of the habit of calling someone who is a poor mentor a mentor, because by definition of the relationship, you are putting into it and helping the other person. Calling someone your mentor who is actively sabotaging your career and your relationships inside your company is a poor use of the title. This person's Sith, they're not Jedi. You know, you've got a situation where someone is actively creating these issues. This is not the time to keep it informal, to keep it polite, as I mentioned before, when you're working with people who do want to help and are a little awkward. This is the time to document. I strongly urge you, as you are going through your situation in work, keep every email that you receive from this person. Keep it off your company server if you have a situation where you think someone is harassing, abusing, or causing a hostile workplace situation. And I say this as the CEO of a company with full knowledge that if there is a problem one day in my company, that I want to make sure that it's addressed. It's very, very wrong to cover stuff like this up. And I've seen a couple of justified cases where someone was exchanging proprietary information, but most of the time, if you are in a situation where someone is creating a hostile situation for you, you need to save this information away from the company that can get it, that can hide the situation. It's a tough situation to be in, but just that sheaf of documentation is going to save you a lot. A mentor who is sabotaging your career, who is also your boss, is creating a hostile workplace environment, and it is probably time to talk to an attorney. You can find free legal clinics, I know in Seattle, all over the place. Most major universities that have a law school have a free law clinic or a walk-in clinic hours, basically, where second year, third year law students will give you a better feeling for what it is that you need to do in the situation that you're in. I wish you the best of luck. You have the most of my sympathies, and please do consider mentoring someone else better than you yourself were mentored. You've seen how devastating it is for someone who does it badly. Now consider how valuable and how amazing it is when someone does a good job being a mentor. It's a very rewarding and very valuable position to be in. You are connected to people. You bring joy and you bring learning to people that wouldn't have otherwise had the access to it. So as poor as the situation you're in right now is, please do consider offering something positive back in its place and in its stead. And I think you're going to enjoy your situation and your career a little bit more when you take control of the situation yourself. Thank you very much. I had a blast today. This is very emotionally difficult, I think, sometimes to talk about for people. So we're talking about intimate relationships, and I hope that you take care and use courtesy, and that you can transition into really valuable and fulfilling relationships. Always ask me questions if you need to. Hit me up at Tarah@Fizzmint.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Tarah, and I will answer your questions there if you like. I look forward to seeing you folks next week. Next week is a little bit more exciting. I've got how not to dress for tech interviews, what not to wear, but in the nerd world. That should be a little entertaining at 3:30 next Wednesday, Pacific time. Have a great day, folks. Bye-bye.